Fire in the hole. Let's talk about the replacement flyback for the Neotec 2515C. Now, the heatsink here that the HOT goes to, this was the original mounting point for the flyback. Our replacement flybacks have our ear over here. Now, I personally think that the flyback is too much weight to be hanging out there by itself, especially if you move the cabinet or you ship the chassis. That weight is going to flex and break that board. Look how much I can move it just with my hands, let alone that weight if it got a bump and slid. So what I did is I went and got 1 1/4 inch number 8 screw. Now, you can do just a Phillips. I used a 1/4 inch hex head. You can do it in stainless. You can do it whatever you want. It's the right size to start threading into the ear on the flyback. Now, I heated mine with my hot air tip so that I could more easily cut the threads. And what you need to do is heat it so you can cut your thread set, and you're going to want to cut it all the way through till you get some of your thread coming out on the other side of the flyback. Now, even now, I feel like I need to provide a little bit of support with a finger as I'm running that screw through, and I have already run it through once heated. Now, if you see it popping out the back side there, that's what we want. What you're going to find is once you get it popped through that back side, you will probably have that much screw protruding at the end of the day. Now, I used a shorter screw to thread in, still a number 8, but I threaded it in. I used a number 8 1 inch and threaded it in. Didn't have to bottom it out or take it through, but I brought it through, oh, about however far the heat sink is to sit out. Now, I found these nylon spacers in the hardware section at Lowe's. Those spacers, as you can see, are longer than you need, so I shortened this one up. Now, I just did it on the side of a grinder wheel. I marked it with a Sharpie and ground it down to about where I needed it, which when I put a caliper on this is 15 millimeters. I think I went a little too short. I should have gone 16 millimeters because now I need a millimeter's worth of washer to go in there. Now, to do that, let me back up. I took the heat sink down like this. I ran the shorter screw in. I painted the head with paint. You can use nail polish, paint stick, whatever. Folded that up to the point where it touched the head, and it left the paint mark to show me where the head was going to go. I center punched it. I pilot drilled it with an 1/8 inch, but I ultimately had to drill it larger in order to make it so I wasn't cutting threads through. 1/8 inch is perfect to cut threads and screw and bite into, but it's not the right diameter to put your bolt through. So that's how I found my bolt mark, and because I made my spacer a little too short, now I've got this little tit right here that I'm going to grind off with the Dremel and make it smooth, and then I'll be right back. Alright, since I ground that little nubbin off, now my washer will lay flat on the heat sink. And like I said, I drilled a 1/8 pilot, but then I followed it with a 3/16 in order to get the hole for an easy pass-through for the screw. Again, that is a number 8 screw. I used Hillman number 8 1.5 inch. I think I may have said that wrong in the beginning. 1.25 inch is what I started with, and it wasn't long enough once I got the spacer and the washer. I didn't have any threads to bite. I only was getting engagement about here, which wasn't enough to really tighten it down and suck it down. So that's why I went with the extra 1/4 inch up to the number 8 1.5 inch to get engagement and bite into there. So I think if you do this for yourself, depending on how your flyback sits, be prepared with a washer, and or depending on how well you and even you cut and smooth that edge, you're going to need between 15 and 16 millimeters in spacer. But these are nice hard nylon spacers. They're just right for the screw to pass through and hold it as a nice collar. And we get it in there, it'll suck that flyback down nice and tight against the heat sink like it belongs. So I'm going to cut away again. I'm going to finish assembling the hardware and come back and show you the finished product. There we have it fully reassembled. See about how much of that screw's coming out the back side of the flyback ear. We've got our spacer, and like I said, I ground about 1 millimeter short, so I ended up with a washer. A washer can fill any of those gaps. Our heat sink is screwed down on both sides similarly. We've got our HOT attached. Don't forget to put your insulator back behind there. This is a plastic cased output, so it doesn't need electrically insulated, but you can use the little thermal pads to help transfer the heat. You can use thermal grease, combination of the two, to your heart's content. But that's what our finished product looks like. And now our flyback is rock solid to our heat sink, just like it used to be with the original ear and the original Neotec flyback. This flyback is a replacement. It is an MRCFT 216 from Arcade Parts and Repair. Electrically, it works great. It just has a slightly different flyback ear mounting position. So there we have it, folks. I will, in the comments section, I'll go ahead and put those Hillman numbers and sizes in again so that you have those. And I picked that hardware up at Lowe's. I imagine you can get it any place that does those Hillman hardware drawers of miscellaneous. But the first place I found the spacers was Lowe's. My original plan was far more elaborate. That was going to include a dowel rod and putting it under the drill press and center drilling it and making a collet like that out of wood. As soon as I saw the nylon spacer, I was like, hallelujah, way easier. All I got to do is cut it to length. Enjoy and mount your replacement Neotec NT-2515C flybacks for good stability and avoid cracked and damaged boards. Thank you for joining me at Fro-Dog Arcade Repair. I hope you enjoyed the video, found it useful, or at least entertaining. Please subscribe below, like, follow, and share with your friends. And remember, fire in the hole.